Welcome back to another episode of Single Mom Success. This is going to be a good episode, guys. I cannot wait for us to dive in and really discuss what's going to happen on this episode. But first, I would love for my guest to introduce himself.
Hello, everybody. This is Emmanuel St. Germain, and I own a mortgage company in Boca here called Choice Mortgage Group.
Welcome to my podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. I really appreciate it. So tell everyone, what is your mortgage company? What is it about? How'd you get started? And a little bit about yourself, if you don't mind.
Sure. So my mortgage journey, I guess, started when I arrived in Florida. So I'm originally French-Canadian, born in Montreal. My mom and I, my single mom and I moved to the U.S. in
Do you speak French?
Oui, je parle français très bien. So,
I speak very little. I understand numbers.
So I actually didn't speak English until I was 8 years old.
Wow.
So yes, I was that little 8-year-old boy in the back of a school class with a tutor and had to learn English, and obviously got teased a lot. And
did you learn English when you moved to the States?
Yes, I did. So I grew up about an hour northeast of Boston in York, Maine. And so I lived in Maine, went through high school in Maine, and then went to college back in Canada. And then I came after college, I moved down here, and I guess it was 2005. So I've been down here, and that's when I got in the mortgage industry in 2005. And it was, obviously a crazy whirlwind time. Back then we were able to do all sorts of different things. You could literally write on a napkin, I'm a dog walker, and I make $10,000 a month.
It was a crazy time back then.
We were handing loans out to just about anybody.
I know. So, my dog could have got pre-approved.
Yes. I think they have a couple houses already.
You're getting second mortgages to pay your first mortgage.
Yes.
Down payment.
Yes. So there was a lot of things going on back then. There was a lot of greed in lots of different areas, and there was a lot of accountability that needed to happen. And because of that, we've had tremendous amount of compliance and things that happen. And the industry at that time, it was really fantastic. We had about a 90% attrition. So at the time, there's like 110,000 loan officers in the state of Florida, and we got down to about 11,000. And I was one of those 11,000. So over those next few years, after Dodd-Frank, I was really able to grow my business and to turn the referral partners and to form a lot of relationships, because people knew you were around and you knew you were closing deals still, right? So that's more or less how it worked. And
what made you decide to get into mortgages, though? Because you were out of college. What did you go to college for?
So I studied business. I always wanted to be in business. I loved it. The mortgage aspect just works. I'm a really analytical person, and math is really easy for me. And I really enjoyed sales. Sales to me is not selling something. Sales is just establishing a relationship, creating a relationship, finding a need, and solving problems. People don't realize that solving problems is really what sales is.
Right.
And you have to listen, and don't come in with a pitch and start trying to sell something. Ask questions first and identify what the person that you're sitting across from, what's their needs, what are their problems, and how can I help you solve those problems? And if that makes sense along the way, and then we can call that business, and that's great. That's a win for both of us.
That's great. So that's what made you decide to get into mortgages after you went to college.
So I had my biological father died when I was young, and then
I'm so sorry.
Thank you. And it's life, right? That's what happens. Yeah. And so I had someone that stepped into my life, kind of as an adoptive stepfather kind of role. And he was in mortgages. And what I loved about growing up with that lifestyle was that flexibility. There isn't anywhere that I can't be right now. I can do my work later on. I can return my calls. So I think it's a lot of the same mentality that a lot of real estate agents decide to do, because it's the flexibility. You can work from anywhere, do whatever you want anytime. So I really enjoyed that. And that kind of was the start of it. I didn't realize whether there was a lot of money or little money. I think when you're a child, you don't really realize how that works.
Yeah.
I think when you're poor, and I think you probably know when you're really rich, but for anybody who grew up in the middle, I don't think you really know. We didn't struggle to put food on the table. That wasn't certainly an issue. But at the same token, for me, one of the reasons I decided to go to college in Canada is that my tuition was $3,000, as opposed to, I was still a Canadian citizen at the time. I hadn't changed over to I've been an American for, I don't know, maybe 13 years now, something like that. But so because of my Canadian citizenship, it was subsidized by the government, which means that the tuition was like $3,000 a year versus when I was looking at Babson, which is in Boston, and they're the #1 business school in the country. And that was like 30,000, plus they didn't have a football team. So of course it was easy to turn that down.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. I love hearing that. So when you first started off with mortgages, did you go in with a company or did you start your business on your own, or how did your choice mortgage come about?
So essentially I started actually with a company called Ameriquest. So we were doing subprime. So my start of my career was very like a benefit oriented, I should say. But it was subprime, and subprime meant that you were offering not very good terms and things like that. So it wasn't a paper, which is primarily what we try to do now. And it was very valuable in terms of learning how to sell and learning some of the products and things like that. But my career kind of grew. I joined with a gentleman named Michael Kotze, and I started working with him. And he really laid the foundation for me to grow my team. He kind of got out of my way, and I mean that in a positive way, that just allowed me to build my team and do the things that we wanted to do. So we started, essentially we were in an acquisition mode. One of my proteges, who's now my business partner, we decided we were going to start our own company, and we had offered Michael to come join us. And so we built this company side by side while we were in the old company, and we hired a bunch of different people, and we had great culture. And I think you've met Sarah, who does
absolutely. I love her. She's amazing.
She does our business development. So she's our culture queen.
She's a go-getter.
She is a go-getter. But more importantly, what she's done is she's established the culture of our company. And I think that's the most, I would say, and people ask you like, what's your differentiator? Well, there's lots of differentiators as individuals, but as a company, most companies, company A, company B, we can all do virtually a lot of the same stuff. What is incredibly difficult, and I think any business owner will tell you, is that to get every single person in your company to care, to actually want to help each other, and to want to really wow the client and to make that client experience amazing. That takes a lot of time, takes a lot of unity, takes getting the group together and sharing your vision and making sure everyone buys in. That's the hardest part. And I think that's where we've succeeded the most. And I think that's where you're going to see our greatest amount of growth in 2023. That's
absolutely amazing. I love to hear that. So have you had any struggles throughout your mortgage career? You've been in the business quite a while.
I mean, I think we've all struggled. I think the struggle in the last 6 months has been, the business has slowed down quite a bit. So that's been a humbling experience. I think we were all, very fat in the last, from COVID. And COVID, although I'm sure many industries and many individuals may have lost their jobs, the mortgage industry really took off, and interest rates went down into the 2s and 3s. And so it was a really easy time to be a loan officer. And I would say also it was not something that we were used to. Deals were falling in everybody's laps, and we were not used to, especially I say this to a lot of new agents that have just got their, because we've seen an influx. I've been in real estate for a very long time. My parents had been in real estate for 40 years. And for me, I felt that all these new agents that just had these deals, friends, families, whatever, they've not had to explore how to actually create relationships and really make long lasting clients. They're like, what am I going to do? And I was like, I'm going to be honest with you. This has been my best year so far. That's awesome. Good for you.
And not because it falls in my lap, but they're my relationships. I've built my relationships with my clients. And so far, and I feel like 2 years ago when everyone was like hitting it and like making all these deals, I felt like that was my struggling year.
Do you know what I find is the number one thing realtors do not do? Take a guess.
One thing that realtors follow up?
So a follow up maybe, but for me, it's marketing to your database.
Oh, 100%.
And it's not just real estate agents.
I agree.
Loan officers don't do it either. So
I agree.
It is the largest missed opportunity. Why try and find something new when you've already got clients that already know, like, and trust you?
Absolutely.
And I think one of the big things that both of our industries do is that we make the assumption that our clients are going to refer us when the opportunity comes.
100%.
And that's not, it's not that Bobby won't refer you. Of course, he would love to refer you, but you're not in front of Bobby's mind right then and there when something happens. So we as professionals have to educate our clients and let them know, hey, if you ever run, so I use certain scripting, which we like to call design conversations because it sounds better. But we say, hey, Becky, can I ask you for a small favor? And you always say yes, because I'm just asking for a small favor, not a large one. And we simply say, Becky, can I count on you? If you know anyone looking to buy, sell, or refinance, that you'll give them our contact information. And because I said, can I count on you, rather than saying, who do you know, and made it aggressive, looking specifically for someone, it's much easier for them to say yes. And now all we've done is we've planted a seed, and hopefully if they like you and if you've done a great job in the past for them and you've stayed in touch, then, hopefully you will get those referrals. So for me, it's personally been my largest source of business.
So who are you reaching out to? Real estate agents or your clients that actually did deals with you?
So we do all of the above. So I'm a big systems and process person. So we've got an entire structure of who we're supposed to be calling. So on Mondays, we're supposed to be calling real estate agents. I would say qualified real estate agents. That means agents that do a certain amount of business. And the whole focus from that, to be honest, to let the cards on the table is really, hey, all right, you're an agent that I'm not doing business with. You're awesome. I'm awesome. How do we get together and kind of meet each other? And there's some scripting that we use. I think that most top professionals, especially when they're in sales, they all have egos. So everybody wants their ego placated to. Hey, so I would, say something like, hey, Becky, I've seen amazing things online. This podcast of yours is just absolutely fantastic. You look like such an awesome person. I would love to learn a little bit more about your business and find out what makes you so awesome and fantastic. Can I treat you for a cup of coffee?
That's great that you guys do that.
And that's really simple. And it's not about me. I've made it all about you. Right.
Right.
And that's where, essentially that's all you need to do. And that's what a relationship is. And then when you go have coffee with that individual, what do salespeople want to do?
They usually want to pitch themselves, but that's all wrong.
That's exactly. They want to talk.
Yes.
And what they need to do is
marketing 101,
probing questions. Yes,
exactly. Get to know the person personally.
Exactly. Find out. And then when you've had commonality and you've got a relationship and you've established some rapport,
yes,
then we can talk business afterwards. But it doesn't matter in the beginning. So Mondays, our goal is to reach out to real estate agents. On Tuesdays, like today, we're calling everybody in the transaction. So for me, if I've got a loan in process, if there's a husband and wife or spouses, however, you're calling both individuals to give them an update. You're calling the buying agent, you're calling the listing agent, the title agent, the insurance agents. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to show that we communicate better than any other mortgage company. And because we care about the process. And ultimately our goal is going to be, of course, to not only wow the buying agent, right, yourself plus your client. We literally will say to the client, hey, Mr. Bob, it's our goal to give you the absolute best experience there is. Can I ask you for a favor at the end of this? If you're completely satisfied with how my team and I have treated you, can you please make sure you let Becky know and thank her for referring us to us? And we do that, of course, obviously, because as soon as Bob says, hey, thank you so much for referring Emmanuel to me, what does that do? It establishes our relationship. And now next buyer, you're 100% going to send it to us, right? So it's not, none of this stuff is rocket science. It's really...
But people get uncomfortable. So let's talk about it. So I actually wanted to come on here and talk about buying versus selling, but this is a better topic. So I'm going to have you come back and we're going to have to do not buying versus selling, buying versus renting. So I'm going to have you come back and we'll have to discuss that. But this is a good topic that we're discussing.
Sorry, we went down a different rabbit hole.
This is why I love my podcast. I love all podcasts because we get in this talk of things and this is amazing. So I actually appreciate it because so many people ask me, how'd you become so successful in real estate? I'm sure people ask you, how'd you decide to be successful and own your own mortgage company? Mm-hmm. People really want to know. And to me, I'm like, well, do you have people that you know? They're like, yes. I'm like, well, then you can be successful too.
Exactly.
I'm like, how do you go about doing it? But people are afraid. right? You're afraid to say, can I ask a favor of you, right? Or they're uncomfortable to say, would you recommend somebody to me? It's like that. Let's not say anything. Let's assume that they're going to go ahead and use me. It's like out of sight, out of mind. I can tell you for myself, I do 4 pop-bys a year. My clients know this about me. Mm-hmm. They know that every Thanksgiving, before Thanksgiving, they get a pie. They also know, like, during the summers, I drop off the Costco container of like ketchup, mustard, and relish. I drop by then and give them all those things. There's like a couple things I do throughout the year, always to be like at the top of their mind. They get birthday cards every year for their birthday, anniversary cards if they're married, anniversaries for their houses, for their happy birthday to their children. And sometimes just on a random Monday, I just send my clients like a $5 Starbucks gift card just because.
Well, it's very generous.
Yeah.
Let's get back to the one thing though.
Sure.
You said that, what is it that you think that they're scared of?
Rejection.
Okay. And why would somebody be scared of rejection?
They're afraid of somebody telling them no.
But what is
or them feeling like inferior or that they're not good enough.
How do you overcome that?
Exactly. How do you overcome that?
Value. So you have to know that you are adding value in every conversation and every transaction that you take. So when I reach out to Becky Mancini and I'm asking to take her for a cup of coffee, I'm not worried about rejection because I know how good I am at what I do. I know that if I make those phone calls and every client that we have, if I ask them for referrals and if I know I'm able to give you a referral back, I'm adding value, I'm adding money in your pocket. So I think it just comes from where we're coming from. If we were selling, if I'm selling something that is not appropriate at all to the situation, then it's very difficult. It's hard to make that sell. But when you believe in the products that you have, so for us, I mean, our products are very normal, basic products, right? It's nothing that complicated, but it's the service. I believe in our service. I started off the podcast by telling you how awesome my people are. So I know when we do a transaction together, my entire team is going to amaze everyone along the way. So it makes it really easy for me to come from a place of confidence and know that I'm adding value to you and your clients.
So there are a million mortgages companies here. There's a ton. Mm-hmm. What makes your company stand out different? Do you guys add different services? Do you think outside the box on your marketing? Do you market?
Yes, of course. So we do a ton of marketing. So again, we market to our past database more than anything else. We're the official exclusive mortgage partner of FAU. We do all sorts of different things. We've been a diamond affiliate for Our World for the Palm Beach and the greater Fort Lauderdale area. So we do a lot of different marketing stuff. I think that at the end of the day, and it's ironic that you say that because one of the things I was going to do, and not for this podcast, but just in general, because I think it's a great thing to know, is to ask the top 5 realtors that I do business with, why do you use me? And then because at the end of the day, that's your next pitch to the 6th person. Because you extrapolate the information that says, well, you always pick up the phone, or, you always close no matter what, you're creative, all those different things, rather than it coming from me, right? Because I know what my skill set is, but doesn't necessarily mean that's why you're referring me a client. That has to come from someone else. So I think it's a great way. We are, I was just talking with my business partner before an hour ago, and we were writing down a bunch of different things. And I had a recruiter come in my office because we're hiring a full-time recruiter to recruit loan officers. And, and I said to her, I said, listen, don't ask me, I'm the owner. Go ask one of the loan officers why they're here, and find out their top 3. And the things that they had come up with had nothing to do with products, had nothing to do with pricing. It was the family atmosphere that we have. It was the access to our underwriting that we have because we allow our loan officers to communicate directly with underwriters. And it was our technology. So nothing to do with, your typical question, things that people would ask for was like, oh, you have the lowest rates in town. We have fantastic rates. Anyone can have access to the lowest rates. It just depends on how much you want to spend. So I think that those are some of the factors. And I think that's a great way to kind of flip the script and basically, figure out what is your strength. So.
And I can vouch that your employees are very happy where they're at. So his marketing girl, Sarah, who is one of my friends, she is amazing. You know, she comes in contact with a lot of lenders. And I feel like you guys are doing something different by having a marketer. They don't all do. They're usually the lenders that go out there to try to recruit the business. And you've got this beautiful, ambitious, powerful woman going out there creating business for the company. And people are like, I want her. And she's been propositioned quite a few times that I'm aware of, you know, to say, please come over to our company. We'll pay you better. We'll give you more. And she's like, I am so happy where I'm at. I'm not even entertaining it.
Well, it's great to hear. So
yeah. So I can vouch for that, how happy she actually really, truly is there.
Well, and it, you know, it's, which is really important. And I, you know, Sarah's a rock star and we absolutely love her. But I think the key is that we want that to be our culture from literally, you know, from the janitor all the way to the CEO, is that's what we're trying to do. We want people to be engaged. We want individuals to want to work. And, you know, I think there's a balance there. And I think it's a little bit tough sometimes as an owner. You know, we've got holidays coming up, and as an owner, you're like, oh, why are we, you know, no, why do we need a day off? Let's work, you know. And then at the same token, when you have, when you give, you get a lot more back.
I agree. So you agree with like giving your staff time off so they can regenerate, literally recharge themselves so they can come back into work ready to go.
Yes, 100%.
I'm a firm believer in that as well. You have to recharge those batteries, because if you I work nonstop, but I can't expect other people to do what I do. Mm-hmm. So for me, I completely understand that, because I have employees as well. So for them to like go home, recharge those batteries and come back, it's definitely a huge plus.
You want to build a scalable business also.
Absolutely.
And that scalable business, part of that means that when one individual is out, the rest of the team is able to step up and they want to help each other. So, you know, that's what we have right now. Luckily, we've got amazing people. So for us, that makes it easy.
So let me ask you another question. You know, there's still new people coming into the field. Do you think now is a good time for somebody to come into real estate or to come into mortgages?
So real estate, so I'm not sure how to answer this, because I'm going to give you two great stats. And I think the stat was something like 62% of all real estate agents, I think this is the stat, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't do a single transaction last year.
Oh, wow.
And I heard that 40% of loan officers did not renew their licenses this year. So there is a ton of individuals that hold the licenses that you and I share. But that doesn't mean they're professionals. 2023 is going to be a year about professionalism.
I agree.
Who adds value to who? So I'm not going to be the only one soliciting you. You're going to have a lot of other mortgage companies trying to solicit you. So our pitch, so to speak, has to be, how do I add the greatest amount of value? And that's what we're trying to teach our loan officers. That's where the confidence comes in. What is it that we're doing? Like, understand, know yourself. You know, we speak lots of languages in our office. That's not something that everyone can do. So whatever it is that you want to do, you know, speed of being able to close fast, interest rate, lowest rates, all that stuff is all.
Do you have a singing lender too?
A singing lender? So
was she today? Did I see her this morning?
So Sharon, yes. So Sharon is our actress slash singer representative.
She's
so
good.
She is, yes.
She's cute.
Yes, I like to sing, but just only in the shower.
She was amazing. She got up and stood and sang in front of like 45 people this morning. So good for her. So
that's fantastic. You know where that comes from? We had a woman come in and speak to us about marketing and branding ourselves, and you know, coming up with different. You know, what's your uniqueness? You know, find that thing, that one thing about you. And what she loved to do was that. And you know, look what happened. You remember.
I remember
and that's the whole point. So I'm happy to hear she did it, because we talked about it.
She did it, and she stood up and she was proud and she sang loud.
Good.
I think the whole entire room, and there was probably like 5 other lenders there.
Right. And of course they're talking about, we have this program, we have rates, you know,
yeah,
they don't know how to add value to anything.
Yeah. So yeah. They were talking about their
super
programs.
Proud.
Yeah. She did amazing. So you'll have to let her know.
I will.
So let me think about something else for a second, because I do want to talk about a little bit about buying and renting, but I know that I want to save it for another episode because we're not going to have enough time on this episode. So let's talk about fees in your field. Okay. So in real estate, I can tell you that we have certain fees. Like we have to pay the Florida real estate association. We have to pay our brokerage fees, any franchise fees. So those are the fees that we have in real estate that we have to pay to be a realtor. Mm-hmm. What fees do you have to pay if somebody wants to get into lending that they would have to pay off the bat?
I mean, it's been so long since I've had to go get my license. My guess is you got to get
you don't pay fees every year?
No, we do. But I mean, it's, I don't know. It's $300, $400.
Okay. Ours is a little bit more.
And you pay, I would say in general, my field is not a field that it is, there's so many different product lines and there's so many guideline changes that for someone who does a loan here and there, it's not the industry for you.
Okay.
And in fact, what happens is the way most companies won't hire you because you're a liability. When I have a loan officer that hangs their license with us, you're representing our brand and the brand that we're all working so hard to establish and to create this great reputation. And if you don't do a loan very, very often, you might say you might not understand the programs, you might not do all sorts of different things. So for us, that's not really the ideal
employee for you.
Right.
Me either. So I'm looking to build my team this year and hire anywhere from like 3 to 4 people.
Okay.
So I've been in the interviewing process.
How's that going?
Good, because I've realized from a different standpoint that they're interviewing me just like I'm interviewing them.
Are you familiar with the DISC test?
No, what's a DISC test?
So you should have them take a DISC test. It's a DISC, and essentially it's about personality types.
Okay.
And so you have there's no right and there's no wrong, but it's about understanding how to relate to others. So someone who has a high D is an individual probably like yourself who's a go-getter. Sarah, who has all the personality in the world and owns a room when she walks in, that's a high I. An S is someone who is much more, it's much more about the, following rules and systems and processes. I would be a high S. And then a C is someone who's very compliant. They follow all the rules. So, and again, there's nothing wrong. And we have, and it also changes, by the way. I've noticed that, when I became a CEO of a company, my balance went across. I went from having different highs and lows to all of a sudden being pretty flat in all of them, because that's what the role of my life required.
Wow.
So you can definitely adapt and change who you are, obviously.
Yeah, you can change your egos in whichever costume you want to be for that day.
Yes.
I actually have to change mine with every client.
It happens.
I've got somebody that's very dominating. They want it to the point and they don't want me to go off of it and tell them all the architectural details. They're like, what's the year of the house, the year of the roof, the year of the air conditioner? That's what I care about. They don't want to know anything else. And then I have other people that want more of a different approach where they want me to tell them where every stone for the house was built from. So it's just different. So I have to change my personalities based upon how I act and how I interact with each individual client.
How are you assessing that? How are you determining that in your intake process?
So I can usually feel it out.
I'm going to be like.
I'm really good at feeling it out with my clients from the initial phone call. Mm-hmm. And how I get to know them. And I first start off with asking personal questions with them. How many kids do they have? I asked you when I met you, hey, sure. Do you have any kids? I just like to feel out the situation a little bit. And then I get into, I can tell right off the bat, how many bedrooms do you want? 4. And then usually somebody that's very just detail oriented, that they want everything immediately, they'll tell me, I don't even have to ask. I want 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, a pool, a yard. I want 2,800 square feet. I mean, they just go with it. Other ones are like, well, I don't know. There's certain areas that I might be interested in that we could possibly, I could just tell right off the bat. Is there a different way of approach that you could tell me?
No, I mean, not that I would know the right way. I mean, it's like any kind of buyer consult, I think is, first of all, the fact that you do a buyer consult, I think is important. And, you have to, you have to understand the mindset, the psychology of the individuals on the other end, right? If we use empathy and we put ourselves in their position, it's the same thing. I get a phone call and someone says, what's your rate and fees? Okay, well, that's great. I understand that's a trained response. It's a trained question that that you're supposed to ask. And because you're worried that there's going to be a sale in this transaction, you go straight for the hardest things, the things that are the scariest for you. And so for me, it's hey, that's a great question. We certainly have different fees and different interest rates depending on the different products. but let's talk a little bit more about what your goals are first. I promise before the end of this phone call, I will answer your questions, but I'd like to get a little bit more about you to find out exactly what you're trying to do. Are you looking to buy a primary residence? Is it a second home? All these different factors are going to change what the pricing of a loan is going to look like. So, and I think it's important to identify the question like I just did, and then also let them know I will answer that question before the end of the day. I'm not deflecting. I'm merely postponing so that I can gather more data and make sure that my answer is very reflective of what the data points that you're going to
because there's a lot that can come into play with your area, your aspect of it.
Right.
Mine, our fees are pretty set. But yours, I mean, it could be a ballpark VA loan, FHA, conventional. How much money are they putting down?
Yes, but I think, like if you were asking me, I've got a dog, and so for me, like I live in a townhome now. I love where I live. I'm in downtown Delray, but the downside of it is there's nowhere for me to run the dog. Like we have to go.
It's like a dog park. Don't you guys have the dog beach over by you?
So it's funny that you mentioned that. In fact, I am attending a city commission meeting later on today because I really want to go after the city of Delray to allow the city of Delray to do exactly what Boca does with Bark Beach. So Boca has Bark Beach where like from 7 to 9, Friday, Saturday, Sunday,
right?
In between a certain amount. And it's also a revenue generator for the city. The cost of having an individual there is minute compared to the amount of money that they're going to charge.
But they charge you a permit.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and it's for someone who's a local resident of the city of Delray would be X, and for someone who's not, it would be Y. And it's all monitored. I mean, it would make a lot of money. So I don't know why they wouldn't do it. And individuals like myself would love to be able to take their dogs. So.
Yeah, I know. I completely understand that because the Boca Beach with the dog, it's always packed.
Right.
Always packed.
It makes no sense, but they've angered this Delray citizen to the point where I will go to city commission.
And you're in the city, like in downtown, close to the beach.
Yes.
That's a tough one. Yes. When's the meeting tonight?
I think, yes, it's at 4:00. So today I'm going, and again, so this is my personality type. So I'm going today just to feel the way the meetings go and to figure out how it works. And then I've already reached out to the city of Boca to have them email me the financials of what it looks like so I can create a presentation at some point. So
let me ask you, so you live in the city of Delray, can you get a Boca permit or they will not allow it?
You can. It's out of city
okay.
permit. So I could do it, but the idea is, I have a golf cart. I'd like to take my dog.
It'd be so easy just to go down the road.
Yes. So
I understand because I live in unincorporated Palm Beach County. So I pay the unincorporated, and I just actually got my beach pass.
Okay.
So that's why I was asking. I'm like, interesting to see because they're so critical. I'm only able to go to one beach in Boca. I can pay for the other ones at like $38 per each time I go, or I can buy the beach pass at $70 for the year.
Right.
So I'm like, I'll just do this. And we have a client who has a house close to Delray Beach. It's walking distance. So I'll usually go there, park, and then we'll go eat on the Ave.
Perfect. Well, that's the whole point. So the Ave is very dog friendly.
Yes.
The entire city of Delray is. So it makes no sense that they don't allow dogs on the beach.
Right.
What are they thinking?
It's crazy. Thank you so much for coming on and getting personal with us and letting us dive into your life a little bit. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
I'm going to have you come back because we're going to talk about renting versus buying because I get that question a lot from my clients. Should I rent for another year or should I buy? And I ask them, how long have you been renting for? So we're going to dive into that. So ladies and gentlemen, he will be back and we will discuss those hard questions. So in the meantime, please email me all of your questions because I will ask him. Where can everyone find you?
So you can find us, Choice Mortgage Group, on our social media, and you can find me online as well, Emmanuel St. Germain. It's a pretty unique name, so it's pretty easy to find me.
Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Cheers. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.